when we talk about parents, that these are the people who gave birth to us. At least our mother gave birth to us, and our father did something with our mother to get her pregnant most of the times. So when we look at that, then let's kind of move a little bit before that. You know, of course, when you ask yourself, and that was the question of Jan, you know, we are in a situation, probably, before we are born, where we're not in duality. We're out of duality. We're in unity. We're in unity, and at the same time we are part of the universe, in unity also with the universe. This never really goes away. And when you're in such a situation, why would you get born? Why would you go to this kind of area of duality and starts to experience here? Why would you move into suffering? So basically what is really important to understand is that we are part of the universe. We are not separate from the universe. Like each grain of sand is part of the universe and is not separate from the universe. And we could see the universe as a whole being. As one. Which each little piece of the universe is part of the universe and takes place in the universe. Has a place in the universe. We are not different from this. So why do we get born? Because there is a need. There is a need from the whole for us to get born. It's not an egoic need. It's not an egoic need. It's not because you choose and now you have to suffer. So that means that we are not responsible for our being born. In a way that it's our choice, and because we are born, you know, there is this mess on this world. There is no guilt in it. There is no guilt in the family you're born in. It's based on need. There is a need to be born. There is a need to be born with the specific quality and qualities you're bringing in a certain family. It's all moving according to need. A need which is coming from the whole. And then of course, you know, the next thought is if you're then born and you're born in a certain family, and you know, why? What is the goal of the universe? I haven't the faintest idea. It is too big for my little brain to understand. I have no idea.
think it would be like our body, like survival and development and continuation and growth? Just like that momentum?
For sure that plays a role. But you know, if you look in the future, where would it lead to? Where is it good for? You know, I don't know. Come and see.
That's a later class. To be continued.
To be continued, you know. I think slowly through the course, no, not the courses, but through the course of the universe, it will be clear how it moves, why it moves like this. I don't know.
The answer is 42.
Yeah, 42.
42.
Yeah, the answer to life, the universe, and everything
Yeah.
is 42.
Okay.
That's out of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah. Still, it seems that the universe in everything is repeating itself. In every life it's repeating itself in a way. In every movement it's repeating itself. Not that it is repeating itself, that it's the same thing over and over again, but the same laws, the same development, the same movement is coming forward. So we can understand part of the universe by kind of, you know, studying ourselves. But it's the same thing, you know, what is the meaning of my life? And I don't come further as the answer to live. It's very, very practical. There is not a lot of agenda. What's the meaning of experience? To experience.
So do you think when you're in unity and not in a separate life that you have a better idea of the major plan, or that you don't know in any place?
I think you don't know in any place.
Thank you. It's not like when I die, I'll get the answer.
No, it's not when you die you get the answer.
Okay.
I think. I don't know for sure. That's what I think. Again, I don't think that the universe has an agenda. I think it's a happening.
So we can experience a need without an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can experience a need because we're part of it without an agenda. And this is important to understand. This is really, this is so liberating if you understand this. That life, the agenda of life is life itself. So we don't need to fix anything or to make anything better in a way, you know, that we have to kind of, you know, change life in something else. The agenda of life is life itself. So then we come here, and being here, being born in a certain family, then, you know, we meet all kind of contractions, difficulties. We meet all kind of patterns which are built up through generations. And we all pick our share of this. And when you look around in the family to your siblings, what you see is that some things you pick up is the same and some things you pick up is different. It's like we pick from this basket of lessons, we pick certain lessons we are attracted to. And often connected with the quality we're bringing. So the quality we're bringing is kind of, you know, also this is part of life. This quality likes to develop itself. And if things go by themselves, we don't really learn, we don't really deepen it, we don't really refine. You understand? When things are a little bit more hard, we start kind of, to be more awake, to develop more, to understand more deeply how it's working. It's like a child with a toy. If you want to understand how the toy is working, you take it apart. But then it's a little bit hard to let it work again. So then part of what is the meaning of life is the whole process of self-realization. And that's a kind of a stupid word, self-realization, because in the end you realize there is no self. Oops.
They're saying you have to be somebody before you're nobody.
Exactly, you have to be somebody before you can let the somebody be what it is. There is always a somebody. But to become a nobody means that you don't move into the trap of having to be something or somebody. It's moving into peace with what the form which is coming forward, that this form is exactly the right form, the form which is needed. Basically, it's a surrender to the need of the universe, and the universe is basically affirming itself through us. It is experiencing through us, experiencing itself through us, and expressing itself through us. If we are a part of the universe, this is also what the universe does. And so we don't need to do a lot of effort. That means what we are expressing, if we are expressing that what feels totally right, totally truthful, we are expressing exactly what we need to express. And there is very little effort in that. Pretense and trying to be something you don't feel you really are, that's an incredible effort. Just to express what you feel, what's happening in the moment, is not an effort. It's moving with the flow, not against the flow. And then often, when you move with the flow, and this happens, to all of us, either if we're painting, dancing, telling, singing, whatever we do, talking, if we move with the flow, we move with inspiration. We also listen to ourselves, and we learn from what we express ourselves. We refine because of that. Sometimes you say things you don't have no idea where you're getting it from, but it makes sense. It's called inspiration. So, what is inspiration? It's the whole expressing itself through you. It's much more difficult if I want to have a genius thought. That's difficult. It's a very beautiful way to get your head empty immediately. Now I need to have a genius
Yeah.
thought. Oh, meditation comes forward. Blank. It doesn't work like this. Also, when we look to intelligence, the individual intelligence is very, very limited. But the moment we kind of, let go of the individual intelligence, the separation, it's mine idea, it's my thought, it's my line of thinking, it's my truth. A bigger intelligence is opening up. And this bigger intelligence is the unified intelligence. This is an intelligence which is so much bigger as we are that we cannot really contain it. We cannot really understand it. We cannot really grab it. We cannot say this is mine. But we can tap into it. Learn from it. Follow it. Of course, as human beings, we kind of developed, different tests, and one of the tests is an IQ test to see kind of, this is how we measure intelligence, and it's a very specific part of intelligence, but this is what we kind of think is important, so we measure it. And so if you do an IQ test, a certain score comes out. So what's important to understand about IQ tests is that you always can score lower. This is always possible. So the highest score you ever made in an IQ test is the most truthful score, because we can always score lower. And we score especially lower in the moment that we are in a contraction. That we are in a traumatic state. It has a big influence on how our mind is working.
It's gotta be traumatic to have to take an IQ test, too.
Yeah, for some people it is. Yeah. So then they score lower anyhow. Now, if you make an IQ test with the belief that this will be the proof that you're stupid,
Self-fulfilling.
it's more difficult. It's really more difficult. Most easy is if you don't give a shit, or just do it curious or playful. So the importance of IQ test is not so high, but still, let's move back to the subject, and that's kind of getting born, and we're born in a certain family with certain parents, and it's not only the parents, it's a certain family. Even if you're the first child, you're born into a family. A grandfather, grandmother, both sides, your father and your mother, brothers and sisters. There's already a whole structure ready to receive you. We're born in a tribe. And this tribe, this family, again, each family has his own issues, his own lessons, his own perception, his own perspective on reality. His own atmosphere. I can remember as a young child that for the first time I was playing with at the home of a friend. And I was absolutely shocked that things were different there. They went different. They had different habits, different way of eating. It was different. Different atmosphere, different way of relating. You know, as a child, when you're born in a certain family, this is it, this is how it is, this is the truth, you know. And all the other ways are strange. They're a little bit shocking. Strange people with strange ways. And then when we grow up, you know, then we see that at home it's not that hunky-dory either, and then the strange things taste better. The grass is always greener in the house of a friend. It's better.
When we get friends, we get to go over to their.
Exactly. Stay there forever. They have better bread and more yummy food. It's exactly the same, but it's really more yummy.
Better with a friend.
I remember, this is a story of my mother when I was young, that I went to a friend and there I would lunch a lot, eat a lot of bread. And then the mother said, yes, we are eating this bread. I think it was king corn or something that was kind of fancy then in that time when I was young. But I had king corn bread. So he's eating, because my mother mentioned to the mother of this friend that I was not eating well. Oh, but with us he eats a lot. It's king corn bread. But we also eat king corn bread. I tell you, the king corn bread in the house of my friend was much better. Yeah. So, and again, this is personal perception. Some people really don't like to go to a friend, and only at home it feels good. It's different from child to child, from how we're built basically in situation to situation. So what we talked about the first days is that also what we pick up is our lesson according to our qualities, and this lesson is connected with contractions. That's basically how we relate to the mess-ups, in our families. To the things where there is pain, woundedness, where there is karma, trauma and karma. And this is a service. It's a given, but it's also a service. It's just a given, and it's not kind of a holy service in the way, you know, that this is our holy task in our lives, or that we're responsible, but we are born in a world which is not perfect, a world where there is suffering and pain, where there is a trauma which never is worked out and is moving from generation to generation to do our bit. So if you do your bit, there is a reward. And the reward is freedom. A feeling of a greater freedom. It's not a reward that when you die that the angels are applauding to you, I think. Would be nice, but I don't think so.
Wait to see.
wait and see. Or a reward, that you kind of can sit on the knee of Jesus, or Muhammad, or Moses, but he's got very kind of stingy knees. Skinny knees, that's kind of hard. After this long walk through the desert, Not much to eat. It's
No
not
corn tea.
Singed.
It's not like that. If it's true that we are born according to the need of the universe, and we come into a family and we have our lives, there is nothing special about that. And I don't think that the universe is making any distinction in this life is more special as any other life. Every life is special. Every life is worthwhile. We make this distinction between good and bad. But I don't think that the universe is doing this. Every life is a building stone. And then some lives are more productive in a way. They're more productive because there is more freedom created, there is more happiness created, there is more joy created. And these lives are a kind of example to us because, we feel better when there is more freedom, more joy and more happiness. So it fell out good, this life. And it fell out good because there was a certain movement in this life, a certain movement which was more beneficial. So one of the things when we see when lives are generally more beneficial, if we can be of service to others, which is not always possible. So it brings us joy to make another person happy. This is a big resource of joy. And that kind of is totally, again, attuned with, that we are born from the need of the whole. So if the whole gets a little bit better, this is a very deep passion in us to make good, to make the whole a little bit better. Because this is exactly where we moved from. And to make it a little bit better means make it a little bit more free, a little bit more joyful, a little bit more happy. I think. Maybe a little bit more safe, but that's tricky already. That's difficult. Safe from what? So part of what we're learning here is to have a separate body and a separate perception, a separate way of perceiving, a separate set of brains. Brains. And it means that we develop a separate identity. So if we're really coming from a state of union, this is a little bit shocking. But then again, the union never gets lost. But we get very identified with this separate. And of course, the stronger the woundedness about this being separate is in our parents, the stronger we are dealing with a separation. So we move into polarity. And the less free our parents are in moving through polarities, the more there is a tendency that we get entangled in polarities. The more absolute one of the polarities is, the more we kind of, get entangled in it. So when we look to our parents, both our parents are embodying their past, as we are embodying the past of our parents. Our past. So they're embodying their past. The lessons of life they moved through, the lessons of their parents, their grandparents, are moving through them. And these lessons are reflected in how they move through it by how free they are to express themselves truthfully, to find joy in life. How free they are to be intimate. How free they are to be themselves, to be natural. And where is the freedom, and where is a loss of freedom? Where they get entangled. And all of this are also examples for ourselves. Examples in how you do it. What is dangerous, what's not dangerous. A family which has bad experiences with fire, when they use the word fire, the emotional content of this word will be totally different as a family which there is no trauma around fire. If one of the children was drowned, even in a generations, 2 generations, or maybe more back, there is a special connection with water, which is different from a family which had no problem with this. When there has been a lot of loss in the family, it has an influence on the intimacy within the family and how we relate. If you are a mother and you lost 4 children, then it becomes more difficult to relate to the 5th child, because you could lose it. You relate in a different way, and this can be positive or negative, or maybe both. But all of these things have an influence. So life has an influence, and the experience of life has an influence on how we give form to life. So if life is meant to be living, we get this load with us. We pick part of the whole load, and we kind of pick certain lessons, and we get this with us. This is where we are not free, where there is less freedom. This is where we are more fearful, more insecure, where we get into contraction, also contraction of the mind, where it's more difficult to find our ways, where we feel we are not free. So often people who are very sensitive and have a strong, which goes often together with sensitivity, a strong quality of empathy, a strong ability to replace themselves in others, are socially very insecure. It's difficult to manage socially. You recognize that? I'm not saying this is the law, if you've got this quality, this is happening, but you'll pick this up. This is the lesson.
Why?
To really understand empathy to the depth. To really break through in that way, to say it like this, through the illusion of separation, that we are separate. Because the empathy shows that there is not really a separation. You feel what others are feeling, and still, you're an absolute zero. You're so insecure, you're not able to do anything. And that's a strong belief in a separate self. So you have both sides. So to find a way that the separate self is kind of taken up in the empathy in the whole. And this is quite a lesson. But it makes sense when you think about it. Insecurity is, of course, one of the emotions we really can kind of struggle with. Because, to be insecure, you don't know exactly what you want, and you have to know what you want. You have to know what is the truth. You don't know how to give form exactly. You have to know how to give form. You need to know exactly what you're doing and how you do it. Defend yourself. But then when you really look into this insecurity, it's basically purity. To be insecure is mean that you kind of, find your way. You're looking, how is it exactly, what is the best in this moment? That leads to purity. If you're absolutely sure of something, there is a loss of purity. You recognize what I'm talking about? You're not open to other possibilities. You're not open anymore that other people maybe would perceive something different. So you become a little bit grandiose. If we wouldn't be insecure and we would kind of pure move with what I do is always okay, you become dictatorial. There's no space for others. There's only one way, my way. And this is happening when insecurity is repressed. It's not allowed. Don't even think, I've got the answer. You recognize what I'm talking about?
I never saw a beautiful side of insecurity before.
What if somebody's not insecure and they are knowing what they want and it's not a cover-up? Is it still going to lead to a dictator kind of?
Not necessary.
Okay.
You know, most of us who are not insecure don't have an issue with insecurity. They can say, I don't know. If you can say, I don't know, I have to see, I have to figure it out, you know, there is not an issue with insecurity, so we will not call it insecurity. There's an issue with insecurity when it's not really allowed.
Yeah.
You understand? Nothing is an issue. We won't even say that we are insecure. We say, okay, I'm open-minded. You understand? But it's exactly the same. It's only do we have a struggle with this quality or not. And if we have a struggle with a certain quality, we suffer. All of this, what I've been talking about, the drive behind this is love. You wouldn't believe it. So, this is for us, but that's also for our parents. So when we look to our parents, and we talked a little bit this morning already about it, but this is what we're going to work a little bit with, you know, with the constrictions we took, maybe through generations. But what I try to explain the first days is there is something in us, in our parents, which doesn't change. There's something which is always there. And sometimes we totally lose connection with it. Or we are not able to express any aspect of it. But the part which doesn't change and the part which is there, this is a part which has a very specific taste of love. Quality of love. You know, we recognize love. Love is general, but the love from one person to another person is kind of different. And this taste of love is also part of our makeup. It's inside us. The love of our mother and father is inside us, this specific taste of love. And this taste of love and everything which moves with it, the reality which this is opening up, the reality of the sentience, the reality of the depth of experiencing things, the reality of togetherness, the reality of unity, the reality of peacefulness, the reality of naturalness, the reality of being allowed to be what you are. This reality is also there in the depth. This is part of this reality, the essence. This is essential. This is more truth as any mask, any kind of trying to be something else or having to be something else. You recognize what I'm talking about? This reality is always in us, never gets lost. We can lose the connection with it, but it's never lost. as it's never lost in our parents. And this reality, which is more in the depth, feels much more truthful generally to us as a lot of superficial stuff. You know, how big your car is. And basically, to say it very simple, in the end, quality is more important as quantity. So, in us growing up, we lose connection sometimes with this part of ourselves. We're following the example of our parents. And we lose the belief that this is the most important. And not really, because, you know, if we lose the connection with it, then life becomes quite senseless. It seems that life is all based on obligation. We have to. There is less joy and less happiness. Less appreciation. More loneliness. More separation.
And this is when we lose our connection to, I didn't hear that part. This happens when we lose our connection.
A connection to the deeper self, to our own essence, and to what is essential. And often we are born in families where this happened to one or to both of our parents, to a certain, you know, a degree. It's never 100% or very seldom 100%, but to a certain degree. And what we brought before this morning, if a parent has lost this connection to a certain degree, that means that, you know, the person doesn't take love as serious as it really is. Other things become more serious. And this is general. You know, don't follow your heart, but think before you do something. Because if you follow your heart, you get into trouble. Don't trust love. So it's better to trust what somebody says as what you feel. Because what's said is true. What you feel is a projection. And especially when there is a split in our parents between, you know, what they say, how they talk, and how they walk. What they do, what is really there, what they feel. Are you angry? No. You're never angry. all the little things which are said, which are not totally attuned with the depth, are making us confused. So not only in a way that we don't trust the heart so much, but we also start to kind of, being insecure about our sentience. We get insecure about our gut feeling. A gut feeling is the sense of truth. What's right to do, what's not right. That's a gut feeling, this is right. And because we get confused, what we do is we partly also draw back from the sentience and from the heart, the love of our parents. Because this is confusing. You understand, there is this part and there's that part, but then, what is real? What is real? What is real? Is it real when your father gets angry and shouts at you? Or is it real when your father is friendly and open? What is real? What's more important? What is more important? The love or the violence? In this way of thinking, what's more important, what's real, is either or. And we're taught to think in either or. And it is not either or, it's and. Both is real. Both are different levels or dimensions of reality. But often what we do is that we let go of one dimension of the reality because we cannot live with the other dimension of reality. If the father is violent, we take a distance and we don't want the love because the love brings us too close and then the violence is too heavy. You understand? So we close ourselves from the love and we don't want to feel the love anymore. At the same time, we feel guilty towards the father because we took a distance. And we have a loyalty to the parent as well. You see the whole knot which is coming forward, you recognize this? So if we could come in a position inside ourselves in which it's and. And he is a bastard. And he got a heart. It's both. It's not that we have to forgive him that he was a bastard. Sometimes things are happening which are really not forgivable. But don't forget that he's also a human. He's got also a heart. Don't throw away the baby with the wash water. It gives much more freedom if you can see the baby as well. This has happened, but this was there as well. And maybe never expressed, or impossible to express, but it is there. If we look for it, it is there. And this is the confusing thing in our thinking. When we think about Hitler was a monster. But then when you see the movies of Hitler, he looks like a normal human being. Especially when he's not screaming in front of masses. Mm-hmm. When he kind of, does the normal daily life thing. He looks like a normal human being. And he was a normal human being. There's a difference. Also, he had a heart. Not when he was screaming in front of masses, or maybe as well, I don't know. But what we do is that we focus on one thing, and this is what a person is. This is learned behavior. This is moving deeply into polarity. To move to a non-dual position, both is there. And this is where we feel and where we find freedom. And it was really bad. And it was a human being. And somewhere inside we know this is true. And we're struggling with this all our life. We want our parents to tell sorry to us. To say, okay, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. I regret it. I hurt you. And some parents are able to do this and other parents not. But we want to hear that. We kind of torture them when they get older. By trying to control them. Trying kind of, to reject them. Trying to reform them. Telling them how they should behave. And telling them what kind of losers they are. And how they should be different. To make it safe enough for ourselves to open up so that we can feel that they're human. That we can open up our heart again. If we are seen, then maybe we can trust again. It's very difficult to trust somebody when he moves over your borders and you say, ow, and the person says, it's nothing. I didn't do that. You have no right to be in pain. You should be grateful. Or when a parent says you are like this and this and this and this and this, based on their fears. Fears of what you could become. And we feel absolutely not seen. You go out, you're 13 years old, you go out with friends, and you come home half an hour later and your father stands there in the house screaming at you that you're a slut. It's nothing slutty what you did. You feel a very good Catholic girl, and now at once you're a slut. This is horrible. This is breaking something. You understand what I bring forward? Mm-hmm. And it's pure based on the fear of the father. Maybe the social fear. So things like this, I just give a few examples, but things like this are happening in our lives. And what we do is we cut off. Then at once the father is this person. This is the reality from the father. This is how he really is. Especially when it happens a few times. So we cannot trust the love anymore. And it's partly because we brought up, if you do this, you are that. So we copy. If you do this, you are that. If you do act like this, you are that. And we feel not seen and not appreciated. So we draw back. So to move back into the freedom to see that both was there is really helpful. And to reconnect with the human factor is really helpful. And generally in life, if you have an awful boss, but at the same time you can see the human factor in the boss as well, it's much more easy to deal with it.